Hello and welcome to Guiding Gettysburg. The west end of town saw much activity on day one of the battle. The beautiful home in front of you belonged to Professor Michael Jacobs of the Pennsylvania College. He was a professor of mathematics and nature study, and his class was in session when the battle broke out. He quickly dismissed the men and told them to go home because they weren't paying attention anyway. From his attic in the house, Professor Jacobs and his son watched as Pickett's charge started on day 3 of the battle. They had a telescope that they borrowed from the college and had a perfect view as the Confederate men left the tree line and walked up the hill into slaughter. He said to his son Henry, "Come, for you will never see again what you'll see on this day." Professor Jacobs helped the Union Army by giving them the weather forecasts and explaining how the topography was in Gettysburg and where the best places would be for the troops to be positioned. He was a great help to the officers. The next house we come to is the Foster house. Catherine Foster lived there with her elderly parents, and this house has the distinction of having the most battle damage in all of Gettysburg. The porch was blown off the back by an artillery shell. Still another artillery shell hit the south wall of the building and caved it in. And a third artillery shell came in where the one on the back porch hit and rolled down the steps of the house out onto Washington Street. Obviously, this shell did not discharge and probably had a bad fuse. Mr. Foster was held at gunpoint by 2 Confederate soldiers who demanded $50 in cash. Mr. Foster just laughed, and he opened his wallet, and there were only $3 in there, and he said, "This is all I have," and they took it anyway. The Fosters were apparently very lucky people to get out of Gettysburg with their lives. For more information about the Foster family, please see last week's Freaky Friday. I go into detail about their luck and things that happen. The next building we come to is the Rebecca Eister School for Girls. It is located on High Street and the corner of Washington Street. This house was the first building of the Lutheran Theological Seminary in Gettysburg. It has quite a history. If you look above the peak of the front door on the right and go up the wall, you'll see an artillery shell embedded in the front wall. The battle broke out while class was in session, and the girls were quickly dismissed to go home. The final stop on our tour of the west side is the Jack Hopkins house. Jack Hopkins was an important black man in Gettysburg. He worked at the Pennsylvania College, and many of the students loved him. It is thought that Jack Hopkins was an important member of the Underground Railroad in Gettysburg. Each year at his house, he held a ball for other black people, and it was called the Grand Fancy Dress Ball. It was held on July 4th. People couldn't figure out what it was all about, but a lot of people certainly attended that event. Some say it was a get-together for others of the Underground Railroad, but little is known about what it really was. Jack worked for many years at the college, and his students were sad when he finally passed on. His property stands today on Washington Street, and it's in poor repair. I hope we don't lose it to time and age and neglect. But does bring a good memory of one of the important black citizens in town. Thank you for joining me on this tour of the west side of Gettysburg. There are many more places that I can take you to, and if you'll join me, we'll learn a lot of things and experience a lot of what life was like back in 1863. Have a good one. Bye.